We are live. We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends if you want to support this Rebel Outpost. If you want to support the home for college football sickles with a donation to help us keep the lights on, hit that $sign where you make a comment, and I'll get to your super chat as quick as I possibly can. Welcome everybody into the Timberwolves. Everybody into the PATC studio. Everybody is welcome on in, even those Luka Lakers. Welcome on in. Don't be afraid. Do not be afraid to become a legend with your comments and with your phone calls later in the show. This is the first super chat of the evening. And it's going to be my favorite one. Stormy Cyclone, Timberwolves advance despite the Pflugar curse. Absolutely. Timberwolves, 4-1. They eliminate the Los Angeles, the Luka Lakers. Let's go. Let's go! Rudy Gobert. 27 points, 24 rebounds. The Minnesota Timberwolves defeat the Los Angeles Lakers last night in Game 5. The Minnesota Timberwolves shot 47 three-pointers. In the first half, the Minnesota Timberwolves were 6 of 30 from three-point land. 6 for 30. And it only got worse. It only got worse in the second half. The Timberwolves shot 1 of 17 from three-point land in the second half. They were 7 of 47. They missed 40 three-pointers. And they defeat the Los Angeles Lakers 103-96. Because the Lakers missing pieces. I mean, they do not have a front line. They don't play their big guys. They were absolutely crushed on the boards. The Timberwolves could not hit a shot to save their lives, and yet they still advance in the NBA playoffs. Thank you, Stormy Cyclone. Thank you so very much. And they won. Yeah, it was absolutely, look. The Timberwolves, this was the fifth game of the series. They're the younger team, the more athletic team. And they knew exactly what they wanted to do on offense. They did everything they wanted to do. They beat Luka off the dribble. They had 9 blow-bys by Luka. They blew by Luka 9 different times. That's now become a stat in the NBA. They were lobbing it up to Rudy Gobert. They had open three-pointers all over the place, and they could not hit a shot. The Timberwolves could not hit an open three. But they still won because the Lakers' legs were gone, finished. They were done. It was an unbelievable game. I mean, it was an unbelievable, ugly game in many ways. Anthony Edwards, 0 for 11 from three-point land. 0 for 11. Not even close. He had 8 assists. Again, 0 turnovers. 7 turnovers in 5 games. Overall, he was spectacular, but nobody could hit a shot. The shooting was absolutely ugly. Daniel Gorby, Belichick's girlfriend, says UNC to the SEC. Thank you for the super chat. I don't know what we're not going to touch that story today. I can tell you that right now. We are not going to touch that story today. Other than we're going to talk a little bit of Bubba Cunningham. Bubba might want to run after this media storm. Belichick, and now this piece from the News and Disruptor. What is that piece? What is is there a new article out? I do not know. Anyways, welcome on in. We're gonna do sort of a shorter live show this evening, I believe. Unless there's breaking news. But anyways, look, we were told something really interesting. It was early today about the Big 12. And nothing earth-shattering. But I got to tell you, it wasn't my It did not fit my perception of things. So we are going to, it's just a short little, I just want to get this out there because it's different than what I thought. It has to do with their potential private capital deal. It's a little bit different than I thought. And I kind of perceive it as good news for the Big 12. Then later on, there was some news out there that I don't think anybody really got. I don't see anybody talking about it. I read this report. I do not understand the report. I still don't understand the report. So why am I talking about a report that I do not understand? That is a great question. But I poked and prod, and I said, look, you know I'm a moron. Can you explain this to me? And essentially, the person talking to me kept it really simple. Kept it simple, stupid. Just like my golf swing. Kept it simple, stupid. And I understood what the person was telling me. And again, the information given to me is also a little bit of good news for the Big 12. In a couple of different ways. I'm starting to understand a little bit more of Brett Yormark's vision. So we are going to, and nothing has to do with realignment, or at least nothing has to do directly with realignment or conference expansion. This is something else. But I can understand. I'm starting to understand why Brett Yormark may be a little bit more optimistic about certain things than he was before. So we are going to get into that on today's show. Opie, I have to give, just to start, a GoFundMe from Short Range Jumper for Timberwolves. Thank you, Opie. Appreciate the super chat. Wow, massive super chat. Thank you for your generosity once again. Thank you so very much. The Timberwolves, at one point, Bobby Marks, NBA writer on X, an analyst, was keeping track of the three-pointers, keeping track of the two-pointers. At one point, the Timberwolves were 6 of 33. Now, they ended up 7 of 47. But at one point, there was 6 of 33 from three-point land, 16 for 20 from two-point land. So the Lakers couldn't stop them in the paint, couldn't stop them from driving, but the Timberwolves could not hit a three-pointer. It should have been a 20-point blowout victory, but the Timberwolves could not shoot. Tonight is the Pistons and the Knicks. Go Pistons. Go Pistons. How about them apples? Anyways, thank you, Opie. I appreciate the super chat. Thank you so much for your kindness. The mayor of Loserville City finally gets a win. Congrats. Look, we haven't won anything. We've won nothing. We beat a team that has a 40-year-old superstar, LeBron James, and Luka Doncic, who is not in shape, not healthy, injured. Thank you, Opie. Thank you so very much. Bubba Cunningham. So we are going to keep an eye on the story at Michigan State. Michigan State, they're moving on from their current athletic director. He he is leaving. I forget what the date was. Sometime around May 11th, officially. Something like that. Hold on here. Hold on. I know early this morning. Oh, hold on. I got to log in. I'm going to check the North Carolina. Give me a moment here. I should have done this before, but I want to check the latest. Early in the morning, the North Carolina message boards were lit up about them possibly losing Bubba Cunningham to Michigan State. I cannot remember my login. What am I doing? What am I doing wrong? No idea what I'm doing wrong. Okay, I'm in. Let's just see if there's any. Okay, let me check the Michigan State real quick. Then we will get on to our show. I just want to see if there's any updates. Haller out as AD, the current athletic director. Okay, nothing new. Again, could Bubba Cunningham be leaving to Michigan State? We'll see. Kevin Gusowich, the chancellor, the former chancellor of North Carolina, left to become the president of Michigan State University. Kevin Gusowich and Bubba Cunningham, not only did Bubba Cunningham work at the pleasure of the chancellor of North Carolina, not only was Bubba Cunningham his athletic director, but they were allies. Okay? Gusowich and Bubba Cunningham were allies. And they both happen to be, you all know this. We talked about it even before Kevin Gusowich got kicked out of, even before Kevin Gusowich left North Carolina to go to Michigan State. We talked about it on this live show because we had the North Carolina Money Perch. I have a nephew who used to be a professor at UNC Chapel Hill, graduated, master's, whatever, doctorate at UNC Chapel Hill, and now he's teaching somewhere in Sweden, Gottenham, one of those major universities in Sweden. Starts with the letter G. Somebody look it up. I know we have reported the battle for the soul of North Carolina and which direction they're going to go to. And Kevin Gusowich and Bubba Cunningham were allies. But the Board of Regents has been against Gusowich and Cunningham. Gusowich left Michigan State. But Bubba Cunningham was basically the lone survivor of this faction. If Bubba Cunningham does leave to go to Michigan State, I don't know if he's gonna. I don't know if he's going to. I really don't. I have no idea. I know everyone's talking about it. I know everyone is talking about it. And they were, the very moment that Haller was let go, So I am not giving anybody a peek on this. I do not know. I do not know. All I'm saying is if Bubba Cunningham does leave his position to go to Michigan State, that, how do I put this? That is the SEC canary in the coal mine. The writing would be on the wall to the point where anybody could read it. And we'll go back to that story if it becomes real. First of all, I have no idea as of now. May 1st, 6:04 Eastern Time, 5:04 p.m. Central Time. I really have no idea. I have not been working on that story. I've been keeping track of what other people are saying, but I have no idea. But if Bubba Cunningham goes to Michigan State, that's a big, big story in so many ways. In so many ways. But we'll make sure. We'll keep an eye on it. Okay, I want to do a roll call real quick, and then we're going to get to our monologue here. We got to get to our monologue. Bob Swanger is in the house. KS Bear Fan, Jay Chapman, Jeff Kais, Mr. Mountaineer is in the house. Stormy Cyclone again. Thank you for the super chat. Don in Kansas, Randy Taylor, Nathan Jones, Big Ears Bo, Nitwit, here comes the Nittly Lions. Lee's in the house. The Almighty Finn, Jeff Jorgensen, Jose, 5-star, going to USC. Nebraska just got a big-time quarterback. Trey Taylor, 2027 quarterback. Congratulations to the Cornhuskers. Band rehearsal tonight. Have to watch later. God bless you, Mr. Flugar. God bless you, my prof. Heelan, Florida is in the house. Vox Quindaro is here in the house. Daniel Gorby, Mr. Seminole, Azon the Kid, Rock Chalk Jayhawk has made his arrival. Caleb Ramirez, Mr. Buckeye. Chris George is here. Mick Stevens, TCU, Go Horn Frogs. Lee is here. Deadeye, Deadeye is here. Preston from Greensboro, North Carolina. I do not know if Bubba's going to Michigan State. I think Guswich would like to have him. There were 2 peas in a pod in Chapel Hill. Stephen McNeely is in the house. Edward the Auburn Tiger is here. Son of Sarek is here. Doug is here. No more NBA. College sports only. Oh boy. Oh boy. Here we go. 21 bucket 21. Let's go PATC. This show is going to be 99% college football. But I'm always going to have that 1% that we're talking about something else. Always going to do it, guys. Coy is in the house. Ryan Matson, Sky Yuma. Sky Yuma. RFR Mac. Morris Simmons. Mountaineer Memes is in the house. I always say Memes. Memes is in the house. Woo, woo, woo. Heartbreak 25. Oh, Pinball's back in here. Rod Nix. R. Webb. Pat McKenzie. Pat McKenzie, an old friend of mine, a Golden Gopher. A Golden Gopher is in the chat. Greg's Fitness equals Lucas Fitness. How do I answer that? How old is Luca? 25? 26? Pat McKenzie. We hung out a lot together when I was 25, 26 years old. I think I was in equal shape as Luka was when I was 25, 26. And if you don't believe that, Mr. McKenzie, ask Eric Best. Ask our friend Eric Best when I destroyed him in one-on-one basketball back in the day. So yes, Craig's fitness equals Luka's thickness. Big Gun Shop is in the house. Thanks for coming on in, Mr. McKenzie. Mr. McKenzie, Mr. Golden Gopher. Stephen Clark is in the house. Toast is here. Boy, we got a lot of people coming on in. RT is in the house. CFB Plus. You haven't missed a thing. Mr. Monkey says, do not put that meat into a bowl of cheese. If you want to have chocolate or do something stupid like that, go ahead. Do not mix your meat with cheese. Patrick the Baylor Bear is in the house. Christopher Mercado. Good evening, sir. The artist of PATC. Nick Kelso is in the house. Skaven, yes. The Cornhuskers got some really good news today. Trey Taylor, 2027 quarterback commit. I think he's like the third rated quarterback in the class today, as of now. So Skaven, yes, got some really good news. Ryan Martin, 1% being aliens. 1% being aliens. That's correct. Thank you, Doug. I appreciate the grace. I always need extra grace. Charles Chamberlain is in the house. Steel Austin, go Utes, is here. Azon the Kid, been here since episode 1. Appreciate you and PATC folks. Thank you, Rock Chalk, Jayhawk, Azon the Kid. Appreciate it. Except for the day when I sang the Jayhawks fight song. I did not do a good job. That's a difficult song to sing. That is my excuse. Very, very difficult. Okay, all right, let's get to it. First of all, I got to check something real quick. And then we're going to get to our show. Hold on. I got to clean something up. I got to check something. I don't want to miss anything. Again, keep your head on a swivel. As we said a couple weeks ago, April chatters, May matters. This month is going to matter on a whole lot of different topics. And again, if you're new to the show, please subscribe to our channel and have those notifications turned on, because we can come on live at any time, as you know, covering breaking news and everything else, everything college football. And once again, thank you, Azon the Kid. I appreciate it. Mowing After Dark, Greg singing is illegal under the Geneva Conventions on torture. It would be illegal, but every time I do a live PATC rendition, and always a cappella, so you got to give me grace on that. I always give you all a warning to hit the mute button, to get out of the room, to get your dogs and cats outside, or to just shut down everything. So that can't be torture when I give you the opportunity. So it would be illegal, but it's not. It is not. Ryan Martin is correct. Not illegal, just frowned upon in 39 states in the District of Columbia. Let's get to it. We've got this. I'm glad this news came out today, because I think it's going to be a very busy May, and sometimes we don't have the time to cover topics that we should be covering. ESPN has reported today the NCAA struck a deal with the technology firm Genius Sports to authorize licensed sportsbook to receive official data from championships events, including the men's and women's basketball tournaments. The books will also be able to use the NCAA logo and branding on its apps. What appears to be the latest, do as I say, not what I profit from, sports wagering deal comes with an important NCAA catch. To be able to use the valuable real-time data, considered the best available for accurate in-game wagering, sports books must make a number of concessions. Most notable is the banning of individual prop bets, particularly bets on underperformance, that the NCAA considers the most easily manipulated and thus makes student athletes enticing targets for illegal bet, for, like the Timberwolves last night. 7 of 47. The whole team must have had a bet on them scoring under 105 because that's the only way that they were going to go under on their point total, is to shoot 7 of 47. Holy smokes. It is far easier, say, for a single athlete to score fewer points than expected than for an entire team's performance to be rigged. The player can miss a few shots or take themselves out of the game due to quote-unquote injury or quote-unquote illness. This is how the case involving NBA player Jonte Porter played out. As such, sophisticated criminal gambling rings are incentivized to get to that one player. All they need is that one player to throw it out. That one player to bet against himself on an individual prop play. The NCAA says this is particularly the case at smaller schools in the middle of a losing season where players display a lack of awareness of their vulnerability, not to mention the lack of NIL money in their Venmo accounts. Athletes can also easily place bets on themselves or have a friend do it in ways that seem more innocent than being targeted by some mobster, but it is still the same crime. There is a belief that sports match manipulation is an organized crime deal, and there is no denying that, Hicks said. But at the same time, we've entered into a space where, with ease, athletes can place bets on themselves or give information to the sophomore across the hall that, hey, I'm not feeling great today. Additionally, prop bets focus on individual performance opens up athletes to threats and online bullying from gamblers. The NCAA has sought laws against that as well. By giving sportsbooks that won't accept those kinds of bets a potential advantage over the sportsbooks that still do, there is now a competitive business advantage to stop accepting such wagers. In theory, it should lead to a decrease in the most problem bets. I got a question and I do not have the answer. All that sounds great. Makes a lot of sense. NCAA has struck a deal with a company called, Sports Genius Sports Technology, in use with these sports books, real-time data, giving real-time data to the sports books. If the sports books, so during the game, you can make a bet, right? During a real-time game, bets. These sports books are going to have the most up-to-date data given by to the NCAA. In return, the sports books that get this information, real-time data from the NCAA, these sports books are not going to put up prop bets, individual player prop bets on like underperformance bets, where those are the type of plays that can get easily rigged. My question is, what happened? What happened? We heard 2 years ago. I've done live shows on this. not for the past year, but what happened to the Big Ten striking this type of deal? What happened to the SEC striking this type of deal? What happened to the Big 12 striking this type of deal with the sports books? With the sports books consortium? What happened to the ACC striking this type of deal? Remember the Pac-12, when it used to be the Pac-12, when it was USC, UCLA, they were in negotiations with a third party that would basically do what Genius Sports is doing. And they were almost at the finish line, almost at the goal line, and they did not get the deal done. The conference imploded and yada, yada, yada. But my question is, and I do not have the answer, the NCAA striking this deal, does that prohibit the Big Ten striking a sports book deal? Getting a deal with a company that says, look, help us get Big Ten home games, real data to the sports books so they can have the most accurate information, so they can set the line correct, the current running line of over and under and what the spread is and individual prop bets, real-time data going to these sports books, and where the Big Ten can have their logo on the sports book, or the ACC, the Big 12. What happened to these conference-led deals with these sports book consortiums that I thought was going to happen? Everybody that I talked to thought was going to happen. You all thought it was going to happen. We talked about it. What happened to these deals? That's a question in which I do not have the answer. Okay. Now let's get to the good news. Again, this is going to be a shorter live show than usual. We're going to hop into the good news right now. Again, two different items, two different Big 12 items. One, I was told something this morning that I was kind of surprised at. And I said, this isn't what I thought it was. And the person explained to me, no, well, Greg, you were wrong. And so I am going to report this, what I would consider potentially good news for the Big 12. But before I get to that, let's get to some news that was explained to me that is good news for the Big 12. It's good news for all live sports, the owners of that content, but especially the Big 12, because they're going to be able to squeeze more juice out of their turnip. Give me a moment to go through this article and explain. The future of TV ratings is here, and sports is the big winner. Front Office Sports today, May 1st. I read this article. I don't quite understand it. I asked about it. The person explained it to me. I still don't quite understand it, but they delivered. They explain it in a simple format to where I'm going to deliver that information to you all. This is good news for the Big 12. Sports broadcasters benefited disproportionately from the recent expansion of Nielsen out-of-home audience measurement. Another big boost is quickly following. The next big wave in television audience measurement is beginning in earnest and is poised to deliver another sizable jolt to sports programming. Nielsen accredited in January for its new big data and plus panel measurement, a method that combines viewership data from set-top boxes and smart TVs with the company's usual panel-based tabulation. So it's big data plus panel measurement, a method that combines viewership data from set-top boxes in smart TVs with the company's usual panel-based tabulation. As each of the major broadcast networks and streaming services this spring hold their upfronts for the forthcoming year with sports content standing at the center of many of them, the expanding methodology will be a focal point as it becomes more established. CFB Plus, so it says, so cable plus streaming? Look, I don't understand. All I know, I do have an analogy. I'm going to use the analogy because when somebody explained this to me, I said, do you mean it means this? I explained my analogy and the person said yes. In a crude way, yes, Greg, you sort of understand it. It is supposed to be a more accurate way of counting the viewership for an event. Okay? Yes, it's good news for the Pac Big 12 more than others, Patrick Bear, and I'm going to get to it in a moment. Supposed to be a more accurate way of counting viewership for an event. It doesn't have to be a live event. It just so happens that it's probably going to benefit sports live event more. Yes, streaming plus cable, supposed to accumulate all these different platforms more accurately. This year, as part of the upfronts and going forward, we pretty much know that all of our clients will be using big data plus panel for their upcoming television season. Nielsen CEO said Thursday, it's such a massive change in measurement at scale. So again, it's going to be a more accurate count of viewership. The numbers are probably going to pop higher. At least that's what people in the industry believe. For live sporting events, that means they're going to be able to demand more money, right? Your content becomes more valuable. Back to the article. Sports programming dominates the entire U.S. media landscape, and this new measurement will, in many instances, produce bigger audience totals. For the NFL in particular, the league delivered 70 of the top 100 broadcasts across all genres in 2024. And the league has publicly cheered the introduction of big data plus panel, calling it a move to modernize measurement. Amazon has been among the early adopters of big data plus panel and said its 2024 audience for Thursday Night Football, with it amounted to an average viewership of 14.2 million, 8% higher than the traditional panel-based audience count of 13.2 million. Again, big data plus panel is 14.2 million. Just the panel-based audience count is 13.2 million. 8% higher, that is a lot. That's a big change of measurement, a big change in counting. That is big news for the NFL, right? Suddenly Amazon, having your content on Amazon seems a little bit more valuable to you, NFL. And then for your advertisers as well. The methodology was also the basis of an expanded unique reach of 182.8 million for February Super Bowl, which built on the game's record-setting average audience of 127.7 million. Those types of lifts are likely to be frequently seen as big data plus panel could become the industry standard in a short order. Okay. So what this is driving at, and we got a little bit more to go in this article. It's going to be explained here. We've always seen, we've been seeing a gap of value to networks between live sports and non-live sport events. You know, your TV shows, one that you can tape and watch later and then fast forward through the commercials. But with live sporting events, people want to see it live. We've seen that gap in value for the networks, for the advertisers. That gap may even grow even more in this world of this new measurement that I cannot explain to you. But I think other college football YouTube channels are going to cover this. I think they're going to be able to better explain it to you. But it seems like the industry believes that live sport content is going to be even more valuable. And that is going to be to the benefit of the sport franchises, the leagues, and the college sports. Now, let me get to the Big 12 part. And I'm going to be able to explain. I'm going to give you an analogy here. Okay? This is a big deal. Other networks, however, will need to agree to use big data plus panel. Among the issues Nelson is currently working through is reducing the turnaround time for reporting results. The enhanced numbers typically take several days to tabulate from each broadcast as the company ingests the additional data sources. Efforts are underway to reduce that to around 1 day, similar to how quickly traditional viewership totals now arrive. Okay? Usually when you get a sporting event, the next day we get a total. But with big data plus panel, it takes more than a day, but they're trying to cut that down. Now, here is the last part of the article. And I'm going to explain it, how it was explained to me, or how I tried to explain it to the person, and they said, yes, Greg, that works. That analogy works. Out of home in the count. Big panel, big data plus panel, meanwhile, supplements the newly expanded methodology for counting out-of-home television audiences, with Nielsen adding in a harder-to-reach rural areas earlier this year that also benefits sports in a disproportionate way given the communal viewing inherent to live games, particularly major ones. I'll get to that back in a moment. Affinity to a team often outweighs the size of the market, and that's where you often see the big benefit, says Nielsen SVP Brian Furrer. For markets that were not measured before in out-of-home tabulations, they're there now, and it's where you saw the big bumps, and teams that are popular in those markets really saw the lift, but it's just a better view of the markets overall. So, all this blah, 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 blah. I don't understand a whole lot of it, but I understand this. So I reached out to a person. He tried to explain it to me. somebody in the field of TV, of this stuff. And so I said, so it's sort of like this. And he said, yes. So this is what I said to him. I said, so basically, I used to do political polling back in 1992 and then in 1998. I've told the story before of this. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. But back in the day, I majored in political science at St. Cloud State University, same university that Big Ten Ted graduated. I did political polling in 1992 for a Republican congressional person, Rod Grams. He passed away a long time ago. And in 1998, I did exit polling. I got hired. Exit polling for the Minnesota governorship race. And I've told the story before. That's the governorship race that Jesse Ventura won as an independent. And I did 2 precincts in Brooklyn Park and 2 precincts in Coon Rapids. I had the 8 in the morning to noon time span. I did the exit poll in those four precincts. I called in the numbers of the exit polls. My numbers had Ventura at about 41% in those precincts. I was afraid to call the number. I was afraid they were going to laugh at me. I was afraid I would never get a job again in politics, which I never did, and I'm glad I never did. So I called in, and I was afraid, and I said, look, I don't know. I did this by the book, but I got 41% Ventura. It was something like 33% Coleman, 26% Humphrey. And the guy at the other end of the line said, yeah, that sounds about right. We're getting North Metro. We're getting Ventura at 41-42. He just might win this race. So I did not get laughed at. I did not get yelled at. I hung up the phone. I said, woo! And then I did the unethical thing. And I started calling my family members saying, I think Ventura's going to win this. And they all thought I was nuts. But I said, that's what the numbers are looking. Anyways, forget all that. What I'm saying is, in the history of poll taking, it has always been harder to poll the rural areas and some particular demographics of those rural areas. Most of the time, now here in this last election, it was pretty accurate. The national polls were pretty accurate. Even the comprehensive state polls, if you add it all together, was pretty accurate. But usually when a polling is off, when a public polling is off, when an internal polling is off, it is off because of the rural numbers. It's just harder to get response. It's harder to reach. It's harder to weigh, because you got to weigh your polling results versus what you will perceive the correct demographics. It is harder to get real numbers in the rural area. So I asked the person, I said, is it like that, where the rural areas, when it comes to Nielsen ratings, have been undervalued? And the person said, yes, Greg. Yes, you finally understand something of this article. The rural areas are supposed to be more accurately represented in the future ratings, big data plus panel. And so I'm talking college football, I'm talking media rights, and I said, so you got a lot of markets in Big 12 country, a lot of markets in Big 12 country that have probably been unrepresented a little bit, and they're probably not going to be underrepresented going forward. And the answer was yes. This is going to help the Big 12. It's going to help it's going to help everybody, but it probably is going to squeeze out a little bit more Big 12 value in front of their media partners and potential future media partners. Okay? I hope I explain it in a general way, because I can't explain it any better than that, because I truly do not understand big data plus panel. But anyways, yes, a new metric for tabulating viewership. So, this is also going to, this ties into the other Big 12 information that we received before this article came out. I was told something this morning in which I kind of questioned, because it was against my perception, right? This big data plus panel measurement is, of course, something that the streaming companies want. Amazon is already using it. This new measurement shows that Amazon got a lot more viewers than the traditional measurement would have shown. So then Amazon is saying to the NFL, look, we're pretty damn good. We're a lot of more people are watching this than you thought were going to watch NFL football on Amazon. We are given more exposure than what you thought what you thought we were going to give you. So, and then these streaming companies are going to go to their advertisers and say, you're getting a lot bigger bang for your buck. You're going to have to belly up at the bar the next time we negotiate your ad rates, because a lot more people are seeing your State Farm commercial than you thought ever before on Amazon as we show you the NFL live sports. Okay, so I was told this morning, that the Big 12, this is the opposite of it. Now, I was told this morning that the Big 12 is in unison. They are in total agreement among the 16 schools on a yes or no when it comes to bringing in private capital. It sounds like the Big 12's got everybody on board, but not necessarily for a yes. But there is no light between any of them. It was before, but not now. So so there is no there's nobody kind of going, There ain't no Kansas, there's no Utah. No. What it is believed to be, and this is the chatter behind the curtain, it is believed that they got to the point here recently, because remember, this is dragged out longer than anyone thought, although I think they're waiting for the House. I think they're waiting for the House NCAA settlement to be approved. I think they're waiting for the rev share that era era to finally arrive. But we were told that recently they're all on board. They all have they have an agreed upon benchmarks among West Virginia, Cincinnati, UCF, Kansas State, Iowa State. All of them have an agreed upon benchmark that Redbird Capital, Vox Quindaro Capital, RT Capital, Steel Austin Capital, whatever capital company is trying to make a deal with the Big 12 and Brett Yormark, if you meet this, we all are in agreement. So give us your best offer. That is what happened. At some point, Brett Yormark was able to get everybody on board and set an agreement and said, okay, we need to be all in here. We got to figure out some benchmarks, and they got it done. It doesn't mean that they're going to strike a deal. It doesn't mean they're going to say yes. It doesn't mean that the private capital are going to give them enough money, flexibility, whatever the deal is. But the Big 12 got it figured out in-house. The person told me, Greg, the Big 12 was able to come together. But it doesn't mean they're going to get it doesn't mean it's going to be a yes. And the person said, Greg, this isn't going to be Big 12 didn't get it done because of two schools. The Big 12 didn't get it done because of 6 schools, because of a faction. It's going to be the deal wasn't good enough for the Big 12 to sign off on. Now, it's a little bit of a semantics game because there might have been a few schools in the Big 12 that demanded very high benchmarks for the private capital bids to reach, right? So it may be a little bit of a semantic game. But the Big 12, they have a consensus of what they need to get the deal done. And of course, my next question, which I think is good news for the Big 12. I think is very good news for the Big 12. So, we got that news early in the morning. And that was just going to be part of my show today. And then we got the big data panel information, which was explained to me. And then, went back and forth with this person. And then I went back to the original person and I said, look, you said to me that the Big 12 in-house have got this kind of consensus on the benchmarks that need to be hit for this private capital deal. And now we got this big data plus panel. It's going to benefit the Big 12. There's no question about it. It is what the Big 12 markets, they're going to be better served by this new way of counting viewership. It's just the way it is. So, and streaming, these streaming companies are going to they're going to like it because their viewership is going to be counted better. And maybe that becomes public knowledge. We don't get a whole lot of public knowledge streaming numbers out there. We don't really know what Peacock gets. We don't really know what Max gets. We don't know what these streaming companies really get. Going back to Brett Yormark and the Big 12, we have reported here at Peek Around the Corner that one of the reasons why they want to do this private capital deal is not just the money that comes in. It helps them short term with rev share, possibly, and investments and all that stuff. The real prize to what Brett Yormark is trying to accomplish by getting a conference-wide deal on board is to help him grease the skids, is to help Brett Yormark and the Big 12 get some earned equity relationship with this capital, with this firm, with this company, and use their connections and gives them leverage, the Big 12 leverage, the next time they go up for their media negotiations. So Brett Yormark can go up during the next, or not even before then, and go up to the ESPN and Fox and say, give him the ability to say no to a deal or say that doesn't work for me, brother. Like, if you have a potential relationship that is building with a streaming company, now you've got more leverage. The Big 12, all they could do on October 30th, 2022, when they struck that deal and they really hurt the Pac-12 by getting that deal before the Pac-12, they didn't have really any leverage. They didn't. They was just trying to get it in before the Pac-12. They moved up the schedule. Remember, Brett Yormark was not in his exclusive negotiation window with Fox and ESPN. The Pac-12 was, and they screwed it up. Brett Yormark said, "Hey, ESPN, Fox, we'll gladly accept that deal that you're off in the Pac-12." They got the deal done. They were able to poach the Pac-12. But next time, Brett Yormark wants to have some leverage. We've been reading, there has been reports coming on in. We talk about them when they come on in. We talk about them. These streaming companies are looking, they want to get bigger into the live sports content, right? We just read one the other day. ESPN wants to get deeper, bigger, better into live sports. Well, you can understand why. If they've got this measurement, this new tool that they can more accurately measure, it's more valuable to them and more valuable to the sports franchises or the collegiate level. So they're looking to come on in. These streaming companies are looking to come on in. The private capital, all this, they're interlocked. There's this big money on the table, and they're looking to come on in. And the measurements are going to help the Big 12, their rural areas, Manhattan, and I'm not saying, I'm just saying it's going to help the Big 12. All of this is. So Brett Yormark, that's why he's trying to get this deal done. He's trying to get himself leverage, a budding relationship with a third party that can bring in the sponsorship deals, that can bring in all this money, that can bring in a relationship with a major, help them bring in a streaming partner in the next media negotiations. So, pretty good news for the Big 12 today. If you put it all together, the things that I was told off camera, the things that we went through in the article today, you can see the pieces. You can see Brett Yormark's vision. You can see that it can possibly work. In the news that the Big 12 schools are not hand fighting over this private capital potential deal, that they are now have a consensus of benchmarks on what the private capital need to meet for a deal to happen. Again, I want to make this perfectly clear. It doesn't mean a private capital deal is going to get done with the Big 12. It just means the Big 12 ain't going to fracture over this? Yes or no? They were, but not now. Not now. That is what we were told. And we were told pretty strongly because I kind of poked and prodded aggressively back. No, the Big 12, they are in alignment. We're not going to get a story coming out of this saying it was Kansas that stopped the deal. It was Utah that stopped the deal. We're not going to get that. At least from what we have been told at Peek Around the Corner. If we're wrong, and I don't think we're going to be wrong, but if we're wrong, again, I'll take the big L in front of this camera. Okay. MBM, the Hateful Eight might be a little less hateful now. Go Pokes. The Hateful Eight. Oh, okay. So that's Houston, Cincinnati, BYU, UCF, Utah, Arizona State, and Colorado. Is that the Hateful Eight? Those 8 schools? Is that what we're calling the Hateful Eight? I don't remember what we're calling the Hateful Eight anymore. Okay. Thank you, MBM. Appreciate the super chat. The other 8. Oh, the original 8. Oh, the legacy 8. Got it. Sorry, guys. I'm not up on my Big 12 lingo. I'm not up on my Big 12. I knew it was one of the 2. The legacy 8. The Hateful 8. Yes, good news for the Hateful 8. Very good news. I mean, this is what you wanted. The new measurement is going to help the rural areas better than anybody else. It is the hardest to reach, the hardest to measure. This is going to truly, accurately more measure the intensity support in the rural areas of whatever you're watching. Live sport content. So it's going to help the Big 12 value. Got it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. I screwed up. 0 for 8. Goodness. I screwed it up. Okay, we're going to open up the phone lines again. We're not going to be live. This ain't going to be a long live show. This is going to be a shorter one. But again, I wanted to get this out today. We had this big data plus panel information. Then we got this other information and connect the dots. But it's going to help everybody, right? Big data plus panel, the way they're going to measure the audience, is going to help it's going to help live sport content again. And we're talking about the Big 12 here. But probably the bigger story is how it's going to really help the streaming companies. It's really going to help. They're going to get more incentivized to jump into live sports. They really are.
Call from
CFB Plus.
CFB Plus, the floor is yours. Thanks for calling, my friend. I appreciate it.
No problem. I just have a quick question.
I probably don't have an answer. Don't ask me how to explain the big data plus panel, because I don't got a clue.
No. It is not about that at all.
Thank you.
My question is in regards to UConn. Where are they in all of this? Because we know that UConn has kind of been in the middle of this dance with private equity and the Big 12. And if the Big 12 is unified in their stances on private equity and certain benchmarks, I wonder how UConn's feeling right now, or kind of where they see themselves, especially with the uncertainty of the ACC.
Yeah, great question. I do not have an answer. The only thing I will say is this is a whole separate. Now I'm going off of I'm stepping away from what we've talked about today, and I'm going to go into the world of realignment just for a moment. In different ways, but there's a couple schools that sort of got hurt a little bit when it came to this quick victory. I call it a massive, quick victory by Florida State and Clemson. Massive victory because it happened so early. I mean, it's 2025 for God's sakes. 165 million, 147 to get out next year, 129 to get out next year. Nobody thought, hardly anybody thought it was going to be that quick and at those numbers. I was predicting 200 to 240 million to get out, but I didn't think that was even possible until 28, 29, or 30. This was a massive victory. Because it was a quick, massive victory in which there is at least a pathway for the ACC to implode, to lose some schools before 2030, that kind of hurts UConn, right? It does. Because now Brett Yormark's got a game plan out. If a couple schools leave to the Big Ten and the SEC, the ACC schools leave to the SEC and the Big Ten, now he's got a war gaming out. And his presidents, the Big 12 presidents, who some have supported the UConn edition, some have been on the fence, some have been against. Now they see this quick, massive victory by Florida State and Clemson, and now the presidents that said, hold on, Yormark, not yet on UConn, they have gained more power in the room, right? I mean, they're so it doesn't mean that UConn ain't going to get to the Big 12, but the dynamics definitely changed. And I think it's hurt a few other schools as well across the country on possible trying to get up to higher ground. But the question on UConn, I think it hurts them a little bit in their endeavor to get into a Power Four conference. Go ahead, sir.
In a similar fashion, do you think the private equity stances on UConn have changed, where they're looking at schools, potential schools, because I mean they have to know that the ACC is uncertain and membership could change. So do you think they are more interested in adding someone like Georgia Tech or Syracuse or Duke to the league? And so they're more willing to not push the UConn point as hard in their agreements.
Yeah. You're talking about the private capital?
Yes, because it's
Where
been
is that noise
said
coming
that.
from? Hold on. I got something going on here. Okay, sorry about that. Okay,
You're good.
You're talking about the private capital, right?
Yes, because it has been reported or kind of alluded to. They want UConn in because they want the New York City.
Yeah,
and
I think they
Boston
still want
whatnot.
UConn in. But, they might not be able to get what they want, though, right? I mean, no, I think there is a I would suspect there is still that interest in UConn being part of at least one of the many deals that have been presented to the Big 12, because they're not. You remember, there's been more than one. I mean, they're looking at a plethora of possible deals. In the last public report, there was it was down to three private capital companies, right? And Redbird was considered out in front. So I think UConn, I don't think anything changed from the private capital perspective, but I just think inside politically in the Big 12, those who said hold up on UConn, they've got more traction now. That's how I would read it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Thank you for answering those questions, and thank you for the show.
You got it, buddy. Appreciate it. Beautiful call. All right. Hold on. Expedition Greg sent a gift membership to Mark Rutgert. Rutgert's in the house. Thank you, Expedition Greg. Thank you so much, Mr. Buckeye. I appreciate your generosity. I appreciate it so very much. All your support you've given us. Mark Rutgert, you are hereby knighted officially Cloak and Dagger. Congratulations, Mark Rutgert. You can go to our library, watch all the episodes available to everybody, plus our membership episodes, Early Peak, Cloak and Dagger. And when you get an opportunity, please say thank you to Expedition Greg for his generosity. Thank you, sir. I do appreciate it so very much. I don't know what that was, to be honest with you. College football is feigned. Xavier Wolf is in the house. But thank you so much for the phone call. CFB Plus. Greg, I'm hurt. 0 and 8 is wild. I just picked the wrong 8. That's all I did. I thought maybe the original 8, the legacy 8, were calling the other 8 hateful because, for whatever reason. I got it mixed up. I am a moron. No question about it. Does Mike Gundy still have it? I don't know. I don't know. He's going to have to. I do think that, let's say it goes pear-shaped at Stillwater again this year. I still think Mike Gundy's going to get like another opportunity. He's had really good success at Oklahoma State. And I think even if he gets canned after this year, if he disappoints the Cowboy fans again, I would love to get MBM's opinion on it. First question is, if Oklahoma State fails to meet expectations, does Mike Gundy get canned? And the second question is, do you think Mike Gundy can get another job in a Power 4 conference school? I think the answers are yes and yes, but you let me know. Let me know what you guys think. You had a 50-50 shot. Hey, Jeff, I was just impressed that I was able to name the 8 new schools like that as quick as I did. Even though I got it all wrong. They're the Grateful 7 plus Utah. Okay. Let me see here. I want to make sure. Okay, I got all those. Okay, guys, we're going to wrap it up. We've been on the air for an hour and 24 minutes. I wanted to keep this one a shorter one. We are going to have a very busy May. There's going to be lots I'm telling you, I'm so glad that today was a little bit quieter, that we could talk about the new measuring stick for streaming and cable and these live sports events and network. I'm glad we had time to talk about that and about the information we received on the Big 12. We talked about the betting, NCAA striking a deal with a third party to be able to deliver real-time data to the sportsbook consortium and what all that is going to mean. So this was a good day to get all those important stories in because we're about to get busy. NCAA versus the House. Sankey's going to be landing some planes. There are big news on the horizon. April chatter, but May is going to matter. If you're new to the channel, before you go, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button if you've liked our content today. I appreciate you all coming on in. Thank you for the donations, the support to help us keep the lights on, to help us keep going. Stormy Cyclone, Daniel Gorby, OBD Don, the Azon, the Kid, MBM, and Expedition Greg. I do appreciate your support. Thank you all. One last thing. Go Timberwolves. Oh, one more thing. Pistons beat the Knicks. Pistons beat the Knicks. Until next time, from all of us at College Football's Peek Around the Corner to all of you, please you all take great care of each other. Thank you so very much.